Now the big questions around the connection between Islam and terror. Last month, President Obama came under fire for referring to violent extremism without any mention of Islam. And now a provocative new book is taking that brewing controversy head on. Ayaan Hirsi Ali has become one of Islam's most prominent critics, penning 4 controversial books in 10 years. Born into a Muslim family in Somalia, raised in Kenya, she fled Africa at 22 after being subjected to female genital mutilation and narrowly escaping an arranged marriage. It was later, in 2002, that she broke from Islam, becoming an atheist and beginning to speak out against the faith, demanding better treatment of women and charging too many Muslims were in the grip of jihad.
All of that violence, you can no longer divorce it from the religion of Islam.
That kind of Hirsi Ali on Al-Qaeda's most wanted list, but that hasn't silenced her. Her new book, Heretic, calls for reforms to the faith she left behind. But many Muslims say that change is already happening. Manal Omar is one of them, a prominent author and activist and regarded as one of the world's most influential voices on Islamic culture. She's devoted her career to promoting tolerance and peace from within her faith. And I'm joined now by Ayaan Hirsi Ali and Manal Omar. Welcome.
Thank you.
I want to start with you, Ayaan. Your argument is that it's foolish to insist, as our leaders habitually do, you write, that the violent acts of radical Islamists can be divorced from the religious ideals that inspire them. Islam is not a religion of peace.
Islam unreformed today is not a religion of peace. And in the book, I make a distinction between, let's say, 3 sets of Muslims. There are the Medina Muslims, the Mecca Muslims, and the dissidents who want to reform. And the Medina Muslims are those Muslims who apply anything and everything that the Prophet Muhammad did after he emigrated to Medina, and they apply the Quran literally. So it's groups like ISIS, the Taliban, etc. But there's a huge group of Muslims, I think they are the largest number, who I call them Mecca Muslims, who are peace-loving and practice only the peaceful parts of their religion. And then there are those who want to reform the religion, the reformists or the heretics. And it's extremely important today for the Medina Muslims to lose. We want the dissidents to convince the Mecca Muslims, that large contingent of people, to reform their religion from within.
Should you really be the voice for that?
I think that
You're not a believer anymore.
All of us who are born into Islam, the minute we start to as a religion from within, we're labeled heretics, apostates, we're condemned to death. And I think change is not going to come from the clerics. Change is going to come from the heretics. That's why I'm speaking out.
But you're trying to make changes as well. You believe there should be some reform, Manal. Is she the right spokesperson for this?
Well, I think
her approach?
I think the authenticity of the message is very important. I think the challenge is, if you've been on record attacking Islam or trying to marginalize those who have a voice believing in peaceful Islam, then it's very hard for you to be able to call on a reform of Islam. I think it's happening. I would actually argue that the very creation of Islam from day one was an act of revolution, trying to stop the oppression that was happening all across the Gulf region area. In fact, the first verse of the Quran is Iqra, is read. And I would argue that is civic participation, that is holding accountability. It is exactly not letting the clerics define your religion, but you as personal responsibility. I feel that once you are questioned, it will not be my first word was pray, cover, fast. It was read. And I think that that is a direct command from God in the Quran, which every Muslim really takes seriously in terms of initiating change.
You have an argument with that?
I have an argument with that. I think that, and I mentioned in the Quran, in my book, that there are these 5 key concepts within Islam that need to change. Yes, the Quran says read, but the Quran also says kill. And there are Muslims who take that literally. Yes, the Prophet Muhammad preached peace in Mecca, but later on he
There are examples in the Bible, in the Torah as well. Leviticus, whoever blasphemes the name of the Lord should surely be put to death. All the congregation shall stone.
Or Matthew's 10:34.
Where are the Christians today who are forming movements like the Islamic State, who want to introduce Sharia law and apply it? And look at what happens when Sharia law is applied. Wednesday, just this Wednesday, in Yemen, Muslims killed 100 other Muslims.
But should it be such a broad brush? Medina, as you say, Medina Muslims are a small group. I know that means millions and millions of people.
Yeah.
But should all Muslims, doesn't this incite people to be anti-Muslim?
Day in, day out, in the name of Islam, people are killed, and most victims are Muslims. It is now time to look at and reform the religion of Islam so that we get to a place where we have peace. That is the message of this book. The message of this book is not to attack. I'm not here to attack Muslims. I'm here to say we need that courageous step, and that is to reform the religion from within.
Thank you very much, both of you, for joining us, and we'll be right back after this.